Hello, happy Thursday, and happy whatever day you're listening to this on the podcast. But we are recording for the PCC podcast as well as for Instagram Live because I actually just made a post about this on my Instagram, just put it on my story as well, just talking about, hey, this post is not just another bait and switch where you're going to be promised a lot of value and then you get nothing. I really wanted to give my perspective on what I would really do if I wanted to lose 10 to 20 pounds by summer and actually keep it off without cutting out chocolate or calories or anything like that. So I decided, let's make a podcast episode for it too. And then let's go on Instagram Live because I not only want you to know what's on the Instagram post, but I want you to know the thought process behind it and how you can really apply these things for your day-to-day life. Because I saw a friend of mine who owns a similar business posted the other day, like we have 73, 72 days till summer or something like that. Anyways, not a lot of days, not a lot of months. And so let's get into it. So first and foremost, when we are talking about fat loss, we are not talking about necessarily eating less, especially for if you are following my page, then you are probably a stressed out millennial woman with lots and lots of things on her plate. And if you have chronic stress in your life, whether that's from work, from just the day to day, cutting calories will more than likely actually make things harder for you instead of easier. And so, what we're going to be talking about today to lose the 10 to 20 pounds, but do it without cutting out excess calories, sweets, things that you love, is by supporting your hormones, your metabolism with an evidence-based nutritional approach. Okay. And so I just want to break down really, really quickly before I get into the meat and potatoes. And I have my computer here and I'm going to pull up my Instagram post and just kind of go through it slide by slide and explain. But before I do that, I just want to explain a little bit about why just cutting your calories is going to set you up for failure, right? Because it's everywhere, whether it's keto, cutting out an entire food group and your calories naturally go down, or it's Weight Watchers or MyFitnessPal or Noom or anything that has you count calories or points or put numbers to anything. It's restriction, right? And a lot of these things do work temporarily, but our metabolism is smart. It adapts. And especially as women, our body is wired for survival. Why? Because our bodies were made to reproduce. So if our bodies can't survive, we can't reproduce. And so our systems are very, very adaptive in our metabolism. And so if we have a history of chronic dieting or dieting, on and off over the course of our teen years, young adult years, and then adult years, our metabolism is kind of just like, I know what's coming. I know what's coming. Like this is not new. We're restricting calories again. Time to downregulate the systems. And those systems are our thyroid, our sex hormones, our overall metabolic rate, our ability to burn more calories, our energy levels, you name it, right? So if you've ever been low energy when you've been dieting, that's why. If you've ever lost your appetite when you've been dieting, that's why. Because when you are dieting over and over again, your body stops producing as many hunger and fullness hormones because it takes energy to do that. Okay. And so what also comes from this, and I just covered this in my last masterclass. So if you do want the replay for that, you can just drop the word masterclass in the comments and I'd be happy to send it to you. It's a full hour-long deep dive into the metabolism. But what does also come from chronic caloric restriction is hormonal imbalances, potentially gut issues, to where now our body at baseline is not running appropriately. And then we are digging ourselves out of an even deeper hole where not just eating the right amount would help, but also we need to correct a lot of internal imbalances first in order to see fat loss happen. So really, I want you to take this as a sign to learn how to nourish your body instead of to restrict. If you take nothing away from this episode, except that one line, the one line, nourish over restrict, that could take you so, so far. Okay, so let's talk about what hormone balance and fueling your body for fat loss actually looks like. So I've got my Instagram post here up. It is the most recent swipe post on my page. Feel free to follow along. Actually, don't do that because I think it'll kick you out of the live. But going to start with some foundational nutrition shifts. And these things you might have heard before, but maybe not in this context, right? So a lot of times the first thing that people do when they start a diet is they cut things out. They think, I'm going to stop eating X, Y, and Z foods. What I want you to do instead, and what I would do in this situation, is I would start focusing what I need to add first. So number one, 25 to 35 grams of protein in at least minimum 3 to 4 servings per day. So where's that going to put me? It's going to put me at over 100 grams of protein per day at minimum, because most women really aren't eating this much. If you are, great, keep it going. From there, the next thing I would focus on adding instead of just restricting is 3 to 5 servings of fibrous fruits or vegetables per day. And so now you can see how this starts to add up, right? And so these are not things that are in separation. It's more so, how do I put meals together that have all of these components? So a lean protein source, a fruit or vegetable that's fibrous, and then usually pairing that also with a complex carbohydrate, starchy carbohydrate, things like rice, potatoes, things that are high in fiber. And then what else would I add? I would also add as much water as I possibly can. A lot of us are not drinking enough water, so at least 64 ounces of water per day, but ideally half of our body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 200 pounds, that's 100 ounces of water, right? A lot of us have heard the colloquial drink a gallon or more per day. There's not necessarily harm in that. You usually can't overdo it by drinking a gallon per day. But at the same time, a lot of us are just drinking a couple of diet sodas and maybe a fizzy water and maybe a glass of water per day. And that's really sad. So we should start with something that's a little bit in the middle, right? So if I have a client that's drinking 30 ounces of water per day, I might increase that to, let's at least get 40 or more right now, and then we'll take some baby steps from there. The last thing I would add is actually just something to help with digestion and blood sugar regulation, which is eating my meals that I just described to you without distractions and chewing 15 to 20 times with each bite and putting the fork down as I am chewing between each bite. Can't hear. Oh no, that's not good. Can you hear me now? Or maybe it's, we'll see. We'll just roll with it. We have it on the podcast if not. But chewing 15 to 20 times per bite. And that is a lot of chewing. And I promise you, if you've never tried this before and you are a notoriously fast eater, you will probably start to feel your eyes widen and be like, oh my God, are you serious? At about bite 6 or chew 6 or 7 maybe. Yeah, it's fascinating. But anyways, why are we focusing on adding protein, adding fiber, adding water, and eating meals without distractions? Is because these are the foundational shifts that are going to reduce cravings, increase satiety after our meals, and really just set the stage for the foundational habits that you need to not only lose the body fat that we're talking about here, but actually keep it off. Okay. So that is slide 1. There's not much more to that. But the big thing I want you to take away again is we're not focusing on restricting, we're focusing on adding. Okay. The second thing that I would focus on if I wanted to lose fat, balance my hormones, and be ready for summer would be making sure that I'm getting at least 7,000 to 10,000 steps per day. Now, I don't think there's necessarily a need to go above 10,000, and I've actually seen clients walk too much to where it was disrupting their GI function. That was wild to find out. But for most people, we are not walking anywhere near 2,000 or 3,000 steps per day or more. So getting first above 5,000 is going to be really important to get yourself out of the category of sedentary lifestyle, because anything below 5,000 is considered sedentary and is associated with more all-cause mortality risk. But if we can get above 7,000, 7,500, you are going to be in such a great place for blood sugar regulation, digestion being really, really good, and just overall having a good energy level, a good energy expenditure. I'll even say like right before this podcast and I just recorded 2 podcasts, but right before that, I was dead today. I had a headache, I was tired, and I had to get myself on my walking pad because I knew, as much as I wanted to just stay tired and bitch about it, I knew that if I got on the walking pad, I would feel better, and I did. So that is that. The next thing that I would do, and this kind of goes along with number 1, but this is more so just mindset, okay? Just mindset. And this is the third slide on my post. I would stop placing a focus, on removing sweets. Okay. And I would start placing my focus to figuring out what the heck it is that my body is missing. Because when your body is actually nourished with the nutrients that it needs, your cravings go down and they decrease without you even trying. And I can speak to this from personal experience. You know, I should be, quote unquote, someone who kind of lives and breathes this, but I was still, for a couple years back, was really dealing with nighttime cravings, and they were insatiable. Like, I just felt like I had to keep grabbing and snacking at night. And at first I thought it was just stress. It was just stress was making me overeat at night. But I also was able to like see my thoughts in my head at the time, and I wasn't necessarily emotionally eating. So I was like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with me? And it wasn't until I really started going deeper into functional testing and functional health that I was able to find out that I had cortisol dysregulation. My body was missing a ton of magnesium, of zinc, of B vitamins. And I started focusing on getting more of that with my food, as well as getting more of that through supplementation temporarily, because I needed it really bad. And my cravings literally disappeared out of thin air. Like, I am not joking with you. It was insane. I was like, is this witchcraft? Because it is literally the most drastic shift I have ever seen. That, and when I finally got my Dutch test results back and started supplementing for my sleep. Those were the 2 fastest turnarounds in my health journey that I've ever had. So when your body has the nutrients and vitamins that it needs, I promise you, things do get easier. And especially if you have big gaping holes and deficiencies in your approach, in your nutrition, and what your body currently has access to, it could be a huge game changer. So again, I'm going to stop the focus on removing, because that's just going to put me into a mental hellhole where I'm constantly focused on what can't I eat, and then I'm just going to want it more. Because think about it. If I said, don't think about cute puppies right now, what are you going to do? You're going to think about cute puppies, right? So that is what we're going to do there. Oh, goodness. There we go. Sorry, y'all. That was weird. My phone time limit for Instagram went off. So we're going to go over that to go live today. All right. So then the next slide here is my secret hacks that no one ever talks about. And I really love this one. And this is where this needs more context. Okay. So if you're watching right now, you got to keep watching, because this is really important. The other things that are going to help me to lose body fat, stay on my plan, and actually feel more confident, more well-rested, balanced with my hormones, with my lifestyle, is going to be these things. So number 1, morning and nighttime routines that pour into me. So not this elaborate, you've seen the viral trend going around, people dunking their face in cold water. Like, cool, you can do that. But I just mean taking a little bit of time to slow down and do something for you, either at the beginning or the end of the day, ideally both. Okay. And the reason why is because if we are just rushing and blowing through our day, what typically happens is we lose all sense of mindfulness. We're no longer aware of what choices we're making, why we're making these choices. We have no time or bandwidth to set intentions for our day. And it can really just make it harder for us to stick with anything and make our life very unenjoyable. Okay. Second thing that no one talks about, that this is so key, is have the different do not disturb functions on your phone actually set up. Like, actually set up, customized to how you want them to run, and then use them. And then also turn off your freaking notifications for things that you don't need notifications for. So for example, if your email bubble is on your phone and it says 4,583 emails left unread in that little red circle, you're going to absorb stress from that, whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, we have so many apps, right? So many apps, so many notifications. I want you to go through every single one. This is what I mean by decluttering, okay? Every single one on your notifications settings and turn off notifications completely for the things where there cannot be emergencies, because there are no emergencies on Instagram. There are absolutely none. There are no emergencies on Facebook. And typically, there should not be any emergencies in our email, right? And so going through every single app on our phone, because when we have notifications that should matter to us, and then they get drowned by hundreds of other notifications for things like a new credit card notification, an email that came through, a newsletter from this person, and a reminder from this app that you used 6 months ago, but now you don't, you're not going to be able to focus on the things that matter to you. So that is one. That is what I mean by DND modes that block distractions, using those DND modes, and then also decluttering your tech space on your computer, on your phone. A lot of times when I see people screen share with their MacBook, I see all of these little icons at the bottom between their Safari, their Zoom, their Spotify, and then like 9, 10, 12, 20 different other icons, and the icons are so little. Personally, this is just my opinion, I've deleted every single icon to where there's just Slack, Spotify, Zoom, Safari. And it's just a short little bar at the bottom because I don't want that stimulation coming in, right? And so spring clean the heck out of your computer, out of your phone, out of your calendar. I had a client that I just talked to who just did this with her calendar. That was amazing for her. She was like deleting meetings that were no longer relevant all over the place, and she felt so much better. And really just do that in your environment too, right? Where is your environment in how you live your life so cluttered and so messy that it's taking up space? And your environment really does influence your feelings of organization or overwhelm. Like the difference between when I walk into the kitchen and it is counters clear, nothing on the counters, no food left out, versus when I walk out there and it's just covered in shit and the sink is full, I feel like a totally different person. So that is underrated for fat loss. Like I'm literally saying for fat loss, because when you do this, you are able to then clear out mental clutter, focus on the things that matter, and you don't have just stress inundating you constantly because of notifications and things like that. Our bodies, our minds were not designed to take in that much information constantly all the time. This is why everyone has self-diagnosed ADHD. And I think it really does offend the people that really do have ADHD, to be honest. But everybody's got this self-diagnosed ADHD. And it's because I always like to question that, right? Is it really ADHD, or is it just the fact that our environment has hundreds and thousands of notifications and everyone's trying to get our attention all the time, right? So just my 2 cents. All right, so my biggest hacks for fat loss really have a lot to do with reducing environmental and mental friction and reducing mental and decision-related fatigue. Not sexy, but that's actually what I think could be the biggest game changer outside of the physical habits that we went over earlier, okay? So that is my approach. I promised I would do a podcast on it, so here we are. Thank you guys who watched all the way through. And if you missed some of it, you could go back. I'm going to publish this and go back and watch the rest. But this will also be published on the PCC podcast probably in 2 or 3 weeks. So thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully you took something away from this, and I'll see you back here next week.